Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto, is your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. I see I have a few drop packets. If I'm a little bit delayed, let me know. Anyhow, welcome aboard, Bridge MCP. First one here today. Second one, we have Bruce Pollard. Are you still on the road? No, I am in Houston. And don't forget, Bruce, we're going to be getting ready for our Houston meetup for Politics Done Right with all our great Houston area, Conroe area, Pasadena area kind of folks out here. We're going to have some fun, try to get a few people together. And a few weeks though, I've been gone for 9 months or almost 9 months. I got to really get my bearings back. I'm still sort of out of it. My computer systems, a few of them are, you turn them off for 9 months and turn it on. A lot of things are different, and that's what happened. But anyhow, we're going to get it together. Michael Rudnin will come aboard. Lee Grant will come aboard. Also, we have AC Rodriguez, Eric Hayes, Lynn Halsey Taylor, welcome aboard. E2247, and of course, there's Tank Murdoch, Yvette Avery Herod. How you doing, my hero? Lee Grant, welcome aboard, as well as para ver, ¿quién más tenemos aquí? Alistair Waters, right out in my neighborhood. And let's see, we've also got Melody Keelan out of España. She is in Spain. Okay, let's go ahead and get busy. Anyhow, today we start the program with El Señor Rodnin says, Uvalde pediatrician describes the horror of seeing the elementary school children's bodies ripped apart. Roy Guerrero, president of Uvalde Memorial Hospital, told lawmakers 2 children whose bodies had been pulverized by bullets fired at them, decapitated, those flesh had been ripped apart. I cannot even imagine the surviving kids' memories of the incident, watching their friends' limbs and heads decapitated from their torsos. This specific detail is so much more heart-wrenching than the usual statements, 19 killed, 2 murdered. And that is so true. That is so true. We're saying this out here and it's really happening. People, I know a lot of folks don't want to see the bodies. I don't want to see the bodies, but I want to see the bodies. You know why? You need to get enough upset to watch the criminals in our state legislature, the criminals in the NRA, the criminals in all these places, that they can understand that you have a gun solely made to kill human beings being used in this sort of a manner. They can say, oh, that's not what we want, but we do it for the mighty dollar. Why do they want kids, 18-year-olds to have this thing? The reason they want kids, 18-year-olds to buy is these kids are watching, they're playing all these games, they're doing all these things. They want to have the real thing. Do all of them want to go out and shoot people? No, they don't. They want to go on the range and shoot anything, shoot dogs, shoot cats. But some shoot people. Folks, only in America. Yes, we're exceptional. You have to ask, exceptional about what? Next item, U.S. House passes a gun control bill but faces defeat in the Senate. Legislation will raise age limit for buying a semi-automatic rifle and put curbs on ammunition sales. There's a breaking point in the legislation that bans high-capacity magazines over 10 rounds, while standard magazine size is 15 rounds. So this is basically dead in the water. If Democrats would amend this bill from 10 to 15 before Republicans tear the whole thing apart, might stand a chance. We need to outlaw the guns outright. That's the truth. Where do we stop? Do we allow a rich person to own an F-16? You own an F-16, you can go ahead and drop something somewhere and get the hell out of Dodge? Man. Okay, Michael Rundin's last one says, January 6th committee to hold prime time tonight. Yes. Will I be listening? I think. Most news networks will be covering this round the clock, and I'm looking forward to the highlights, as it may be single most important bit of news of our republic that the American people need to know. The network exception will be Fox, as so many of their news personalities had direct communication with high-ranking Trump administration officials before, during, and after the failed instructions, that they might be found personally liable, and that would most definitely screw with the spin they're likely to push. Exactamente, eso es cierto. Lee Grant says, hey to Egberto and Chatters. How you doing, Brother Grant? Welcome aboard. Politics Done Right. AVQ says he's watching Politics Done Right on Twitch. Bridge MCP says, hey Lee. AC Rodriguez, sup y'all? What's up? What's up from AC Rodriguez? Eric Hayes says, how is the posse doing today? It's the posse. We're always doing good. We support each other. So we're always doing good. Another member, hey, Lynn Halsey Taylor is back with us. She says, let's go, Brandon. Hey, Liz, are you a part of the PDR Posse? Click that join button. You're here often. Join us and help us, and you stay in the conversation with us. Sister Lynn Halsey Taylor. You know, we love you. Come on, stick around. E2247 says, hello, relatives. Today's visit will be the greatest ever visit. As usual, love you, E2247. Of course. Tank Murdoch also comes in with, let's go, Brandon. You know, my nephew's name is Brandon. He's in California. So I'm glad to see that both Tank Murdoch and Lynn Halsey Taylor are saluting my nephew. Thank you, guys. Lee Grant says, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. Schumer, who was then minority leader, said at the time, you won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. And what they're trying to do, what my brother Lee Grant wants to do, is take up the right-wing line and try to find anything that a Democrat said that could have instigated that man who says he wanted to kill Kavanaugh or Gorsuch. I think it was Gorsuch in this case. But interestingly, if this guy really wanted to kill the guy and wanted to go in there, he would have. But what did he do again? Oh, he called the cops and said, hey, I'm having bad thoughts. Could you come and get me before I kill someone? So wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me, Brother Lee Grant, that the progressives with mental problems try to fix it, but the right-wingers with mental problems just go blow folks up? I know what I just said was completely silly. But that's, my brother, how silly your statement is about what Schumer had to say. Right? Come on, my brother. Come on. Doesn't make a difference. All right, Eric Hayes says, curious, who thinks squatters have more rights than the actual homeowner? A Chicago woman in the process of renovating her home to sell it found a squatter living inside, and there is little, if any, she can do to get her out. Danielle Cruz was renovating her home in Chapman neighborhood of Chicago. She had listed the home for sale, but last month a contractor who came to the home to perform some final repairs found the locks changed and a young woman with all her belongings living in the home. Cruz and her husband called police, but because the young woman showed them a lease agreement, they could not evict her. Okay? I don't know what you're saying here, Brother Eric. Did she have a lease or didn't she have a lease? Was she not paying her bills but had a lease? What exactly? You didn't give us enough context there. Now, look, a person who owns their property, I own my home. I wouldn't want somebody to say, I'm going to put up shop here and live here, But that opens a whole lot of places for discussion as far as how do you define a squatter? If I purchase a home and rent it out to somebody and that person doesn't pay, yeah, that person is a squatter. But what if I stole the land and sold it and, and the people who are even stayed there and the people who originally I stole the land from decided to come and sit on that land and say, it's my land. You never paid me for it. Show me the deed where you bought this land from me. You can't show me. Bye-bye. I'm being silly here, but you get the point. Ownership of land is a very, very interesting thing. Personally speaking, I guess I own a home, but I always have a little feeling as far as land, right? I don't know. But that's for another subject. That's for another day. All right, AC Rodriguez says, some good on inflation. Okay, AC, tell me what it means. I can't play that video right now. Sister Jan says, the Egghead Hour with Dumbo. I guess you're making fun of my name, Egberto, and you're also saying I'm a Dumbo. Okay, if that's what you think. I don't mind. I think everybody, this is a free country. You're entitled to your opinion. Now, I'd like you to tell me what I'm dumb about. You know, when you say, oh, Dumbo Hour, it seems like you like to be here, Sister Jen. But the truth of the matter is, I enjoy having you here as well, Sister Jen. So keep on coming. Because some of what I'm saying, whether you accept it or not, the seed is planted, my dear beautiful lady. The seed is planted. And when that seed, when the right fertilizer and the right amount of water hits it, Sister Jan, you're not only going to be a convert to truth, you're going to be a member of the PDR posse. Right, Sister Jan? Come on. Let me hear it, Sister Jan. All right, Michael Rudnan says, that's to somebody else. Okay, no, it says, you know, that phrase is the equivalent of rabble-rousing, screaming in the room. I meant, a-hole, where are my fellow a-holes? Rudnin. Come on, Rudnin. Breach MCP says, states have different laws on squatters. Some are outrageous. Okay, Eric Hayes replying to Lee Grant. Lee Grant violence has been encouraged in all radical rhetoric and silence of the administration. Really? Alistair Waters says, greetings family. AC Rodriguez says, what are we expecting our teachers to know for trauma wounds? You know, I always find it ironic. They say, oh, give the teachers a gun to help defend. You know, they didn't go to school to be police officers. They didn't go to schools to be all these different things. They just went to school to be teachers. That's all they wanted, to be teachers. Why are you going to put them through something else? You know? Stop the guns. Get rid of weapons of war. That's what we need to do. All right, Melanie Keelan says, hi, everybody. Breach MCP says, hey, Alistair. AC Rodriguez, hola, senor. Tank Murdoch says, how dumb can we get? I don't know, Tank. May I consider looking in the mirror and then drawing a picture and then measuring it to see how dumb? Okay, Eric Hayes says, anyone want to talk about the trying to kill a judge? I think we just did. What's going on here? First day, is it okay via government and media? It's okay to picket at the judge house and the next step is to get the thing? Let's not try to create false equivalences. All right, Mr. Eric Hayes? Don't create a false equivalence. For every 10 or 20 killings by some right-wing maniac, oh, we get some crazy lefty that wants to do something, but he never goes through with it. He calls the cop and says, could you please arrest me, please? I need a place to sleep and some food. Think about it. Why would this guy do that and then claim he's going to do that and call the cops? You think he's looking for shelter? You know, that's probably what a lot of people do in these expensive cities. Do something to get arrested, right? At least they have shelter. At least they have shelter, folks. At least they have shelter. Melanie Keelan says, hi, Miss Brige. Lee Grant says, from Reuters, a California man armed with a handgun who planned to kill Brett Kavanaugh was charged with attempted murder on Wednesday after being arrested near the Supreme Court. Justice Maryland voicing dismay about expected rulings curtailing abortion access and expand. But remember, they didn't find him. He called them. You know, he called them. Please remember that. Tank Murdoch says, 40-year inflation high of unaffordable gas prices, a mess at the border and food shortages. See the pattern with Brandon? No, I don't. Because again, how many times must I inform you? The guy you're calling Brandon cannot control prices. Actually, he can control prices if he wants to. But if he doesn't, you're not going to like it, Mr. Murdoch. You see, I want him to. I want him to nationalize the oil business. Nationalize the oil industry now. Accuse them of wealth transfer to the rich, picking the pockets of the American people. Therefore, we have to, who defends the people of America? Who ensures that the people of America are not taken advantage of? Government. We the people. We take care of ourselves. So an oil company take our resources out of the ground, then tries to use it to take all of our capital away from us, and then we blame Brandon. Do you see how messed up they have your minds? Can you see when you say it's Biden's fault? Can you see? I am begging you to see how the smoke and mirrors are working with you. The people that are actually, their pockets are bulging with money from your money, the people bulging with your money are those fat rich cats in Dallas and Houston and California and all these places that control these oil companies. And then you go out and say, oh, look at what Brandon is doing, meaning Biden. I'm helping my right wingers here. And then you have the nerve to not see it. They offer you guys, you peons that are supporting them, you peons that are saying, hey, I'm making sure that Brandon is going to fix the laws that you can drill more. Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. While these suckers have a lot of land to drill on, but they don't mind ripping you off. They don't mind it. And you just take it. And then you listen to what they say. Oh, it would be cheaper if we built that pipeline. False. It would be cheaper if we had more leased land to drill on. False. How long are you going to say, slap me a bit harder? How long is it going to be? Look, right-wingers, you need to hook up with us. I'm not telling you to change your values. But these corporations are screwing us all, right and left. That gas pump doesn't know that you love Trump. It does know that you got money to give them and for them to take it away. Don't you see that we should be natural allies on many, many issues? Think about it, brothers and sisters. All of you, left, right, blue, everything. Okay. Bridge MCP says, obviously someone can get pretty soft in the head. Okay, let's see what else we got here. HR 6796, Digital Services Oversight and Safety Act of 2022. Don't know about it, but thank you very much for informing me, E22247. Urges Congress to counter the threat of online disinformation, 6796. Well, I read one before the other. Thank you for informing me, sir. Hey guys, I have to get back on my exercise regime. This is one of the shirts, you know, when you feel like, this is not as loose as it used to be. Got to get on that bike. Probably got to lose about 15 pounds that I gained not working out and doing all that stuff in Washington, D.C. You know, you stay in one place, you don't work out, except for when you were pushing your daughter or whatever, you know. Anyhow, Eric Hayes, nuclear power is a bridge between polluting fossil fuels and a 100% renewable energy future. You know, I am a practical person. Nuclear power, as it stood in the past, very dangerous. There are certain procedures to make any catastrophe less potent. I have to see, an engineer friend of mine told me that I need to revisit the nuclear power thing, which I will. But Eric, there's a possibility that you may be right. The thing about nuclear power is the waste, which is lethal, is hard to contain. But apparently there's some techniques that reduce, how it would spread. So we'll see. Again, I'm a scientist. So if the science dictates something, I will be there. I'm not there yet. Tank Murdoch says, lock the doors and carry a Glock gun from gun-free zones are a disaster. Don't know what that is. Egberto from Eric Hayes. Egberto, how about not degrading American values and attacking the family unit? Oh, like said the Congress by Matthew. Huh? Don't understand. Egberto, outlawing guns entirely in a country that has more guns than people. I didn't say outlawing guns. I said outlawing weapons of war. That viewpoint is shooting for the moon. No. I didn't say outlaw guns. Look, I don't like guns, but I don't have the right to tell somebody not to have a gun, except if it's a weapon of war that's been known to destroy peoples and decapitate kids and turn kids into minced meat. I think that's a difference. Roberto Lewis, my traveling partner, is here. Saludos, Politics Done Right, says Roberto. We had a great time. Lot of good talk on our drive. You know, we grew up together, so I mean, it's the first time in a long time since like that we spent this much time this time together. You know, several days. All right, Bridge MCP says good driving videos. Roberto Luis. Eric A says fortify schools like do airplane doors. Why do we have to fortify schools for millions of kids so that a few 100,000 guys who uses guns to feel like a man, we must fortify schools world all over? Don't you understand what this is all about? Why some people go for that? Because it's going to make a lot of money for the people who are going to fortify the schools, for the people who are going to teach people how to fight those guys that are going to come and kill. No, we don't need that. Why should I have to suffer because a few dudes want to show their big you-know-what by having guns that kill like that? It's like they're needing that to exert their manhoods. No, Eric, not a chance. A school should be a place of learning. A school should be a place where a kid feels safe. A school should be a neighborhood school. Should be just that, a neighborhood school. If you reduce the amount of these animals out there with these guns, then it would be okay that to keep the neighborhood safe. The neighborhood is safe. The school is safe. You can keep the neighborhood safe at minimal cost because you know only a few people are going to get through with those AR guns or those other weapons of war. All right, let's see. What is the chime in the background? Do I have a chime in the background? Don't hear it. Anyway, Bruce Pollard says, solution lie in the middle. There goes my middle brother, Bruce Pollard. Well, Bruce, you should have liked the interview that we did yesterday with my brother. You know what is so interesting? Tim Danahy. Tim Danahy and I spoke about a lot of middle ground, if you will. Yesterday, actually, it was on Tuesday. We were on the road, and I actually listened to it in the car as we were driving. I love Tim Danahy. Tim has some very good thoughts. It's always fortify schools. Teachers have guns. At this point, it looks like it might be the only solution. Security at schools. How police do their paperwork outside schools? No, I'm sorry. What we need to do is we need to vote the politicians out of hand. The thing about it is most people think like us. The problem is most people that think like us do not assert their power. You know, there are many more of us than there are of them. Those kooks who want those guns. You know, I wrote a paper called "Assert Your Worth." You know, from the time we've gone to school, that's the one thing folks have asked us not to do, asserting our worth, and that's why these folks get away with much of what they get away with. Roberto Lewis says, Ashley, we're so happy you're back in Texas. Yay, siempre, one love, padrino. You see, Lou is Ashley's godfather. And, you know, she calls him padrino. He calls her mi ahijada, mi ahijada. All right, let's see. Tank Murdoch says, inciting violence. Liberals love double standards. We don't like violence, sir. Michael Rudnan says, replying to Bruce, look at the issue by issue poll, and most of those middle issues are the left want to push forward. Exactly. And that's why, Bruce says that a lot, but Bruce loves the policies that Bruce is one of us. Lease might not have been from the owner, but a pretender. All right, Eric K says, define it, squatter. It's a person that came without not paying. She did not pay a freaking thing. That is what happened. She should be forced out. Okay, that's the case. But you in your notes, you said she had a lease. Who signed the lease? I don't know. It's your story, sir. All right, new research. Small modular reactors will exacerbate challenges of highly radioactive nuclear waste. Thank you for the piece from Stanford. If you say exacerbate, that means it'll make it a lot worse. I believe you. Bridge MCP of New York, if you pay the back taxes and start fixing up, hey, you probably will lose house. Really? Wow. Oh, if you pay it back, it's funny because here in Texas, A lot of times you don't pay your taxes. A lot of times you lose your house. You don't even know. Somebody go to the courthouse. It's up for auction. They sell it under you. And they just have to put a little print down in the paper. Hey, we're selling this house like a taxes. Somebody buys it, they own it. Breach. Police in schools arrest over 50,000 children per year. Put in cops in schools, create a school to prison pipeline. Yeah, and you know, that's what America loves that, right? All right, continuing. Para ver. We got Jon Stewart with an actual expert on inflation. Wait. Replying to AC Rodriguez, Jon Stewart with an actual expert on inflation and the reason why it is completely made by the corporation. Pretty much what Professor Richard Wolff has been saying for the past, I don't know how long. It's what even a neoliberal economic professor has said in the Richard Reich. You know, and I love Richard. I've interviewed Reich before. Not Richard Reich. Robert Reich. I've interviewed Robert Reich before. And he says the same thing too. We all know the truth. All right, Mike Cisak says, replying to AC Rodriguez, in the case, what happens when the price goes down? Are corporations just being generous then? No. When the price goes down is because they finally they price it to the point where people say, you know what, to hell with it. And the worst thing that corporations fear is a thing in economics called demand destruction. And demand destruction means, all right, it reaches to the point now where the bubble pops. And people learn how to live without it and they refuse to go back to it. I can't wait for that to happen to gasoline. And that is what they're trying to avoid. But remember, having a business degree doesn't mean you have intellect. You know, that's the thing about capitalism. Capitalism is a parasite, a parasitic product, a parasitic economic system. All right? So therefore, it doesn't have to be logical because the titans of business are no intellects. They're not engineers, doctors, law. I mean, yes, you have engineers that are that, and I know that. But I'm saying in the aggregate, folks just go to business school, they learn the techniques of capitalism and they execute it. And the techniques of capitalism is a parasitic behavior. Think about it. Everybody else execute and creates something. The engineer designs and creates. The scientist learns. Let's put it into perspective because I wrote this in a paper called the paper was called Middle Class Held Hostage. That was the name of my paper. Middle Class Held Hostage went viral on Coffee Party. And this is what I try to explain. The most important profession bar none. And hear me, I'm going to be absolute about this. The most important profession bar none are teachers. Whatever kind of teacher, elementary school teacher, professor at a university, high school teacher. And the reason why is they are the ones that move knowledge forward. Especially in our economy where you don't learn off the land, etc. You live in homes or whatever. Teachers move our intelligence forward to the next generation. But then you have the lawyers, the doctors, the engineer, and lawyers because of the way, that's another subject. But engineers, doctors, scientists, the scientists go ahead and they work on one subject and they perfect that subject. So you have all these scientists create knowledge. They understand how things work. Then the engineer says, I'm going to take what that scientist 1 teach me, that scientist 2 teaches me, that scientist 3 teaches me. And I'm going to take all that knowledge from the combined list of scientists and I'm going to create a useful product for the masses. So the engineer creates something. The guy who builds that product that engineer creates, the manufacturer, very important, they do something, right? The woman and the men inside of these accounting departments that are able to count all these things to ensure they can move things around the society, they do something. Then you have those stockbrokers and those executives up top that they figure out, hey, if we can take that company that is building that widget and mix it with that other company, taking that widget, put them together, we can lay off 20% of the people, work those folks a little bit harder, sell more widgets, and hey, we get rich! And they've created absolutely nothing. You know, everybody, it behooves me how they give the guy, the space cadet, Elon Musk. Oh, Elon Musk is an intellect. He's so smart. I know hundreds of Elon Musk. Elon Musk isn't smarter than our resident scientist in the room. Bruce Pollard is our scientist in the room. Elon Musk ain't smarter. You know what Elon Musk knows about that Bruce doesn't? He knows how to mess with capital. And what is messing with capital? When you make stuff out of capital, you're a parasite. So let's get it. My peeps in this room. Look, I want you guys to understand this. We learn in school. The Powell Manifesto realized that if you started to realize these things that I'm talking about, capitalism falls on its face because it's a parasitic system. It's a system, it's a master-slave relationship where slaves actually kind of feel like they're in control, but they are really not. You know, it is so hard to unlearn what has been pumped in you day after day after day after day. But when you look at the facts, like I said, I gave you the breakdown of manufacturing a product. The scientist teaches us all the laws of physics. The engineer says, oh, so that's how it works, scientist number one. That's how it works, scientist number two. That's how it works, scientist number three. Now I can put that together and build a product. Something that's useful for America, for the world. And then the other people make it happen. All those people are important. But who partakes of the profits of those spoils? The stockbroker that if you put him on an island with a farmer, he dies, the farmer lives. What's your worth again? Could you tell me what is your worth? I need you guys to understand these concepts, brothers and sisters, because that is what empowers us. That is what empowers us. When these guys come back and say, oh, inflation is caused by Biden, we can say, no, clown. You decided to put the price up right because you give the option, the possibility that could happen. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's not fool ourselves at all. Oh, it's almost 4-4. Thank you, Bridge MCP. Folks, please. If you are on YouTube right now, please go ahead and click that join button. Become a part of our PDR posse. And if you are not on that right now, there are other ways in which you can help us do what we need to do to inform people, to let them stop being the stooges of the plutocracy. You can support us. Go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. That is how you can become a part of the YouTube posse. You can also go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is spelled Patreon. Patreon. Please support the show. You can also support us. Best way we prefer, of course, is always going to be PayPal. politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. You can either do it one time or you can go ahead and say, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to be a monthly coffee giver. Give you a couple of coffees a month or whatever you would like to do. If we get hundreds of people that's doing this, or actually we need like thousands of people like giving little things, we can do this. And also I could also get some help. So that's what it's all about. But my goal is to, well, you know what my goal is. Anyhow, continuing, you can also support us by getting our books. politicsdoneright.com/books. politicsdoneright.com/books. Let me put that out there. There we go. You can get, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, which you're seeing on the screen right now. That book, I guarantee you, will teach you economics like you've never known it before. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors. Well, you know, we have to acquiesce to that. Then, how to make America utopia? Take away the economy from those who rigged it. Please, folks, continue supporting the program. Get in our books, and of course, you can go to our store. Our store has a lot of new stuff. politicsdoneright.com/store. politicsdoneright.com/store. Please support us best way you can. And of course, if you want to find an all-encompassing way to support us, all the different forms of support, including things like Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, all of that, our address for all those different forms of support, you can find at politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. Okay, continuando con nuestro programa, continuing. Oh, buy the mug. My dear, beautiful Breach MCP, thank you for... What would I do without you, girl? Let's go ahead and put that up here. And since I'm on the big thing now, this is what's on our mug. I want to show this mug was designed by Breach MCP, our leader here in the PDR Posse. There it is. You see that there? That's join the PDR Posse, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube chat. Left, and notice she made sure to include it all. Hey, thank you for having been here, AVQ, but we got some videos to see, so you're gonna miss those. Anyhow, you're gonna miss our videos. Anyhow, yeah, as he says, mug up. Oh, Egberto Willis is in his house. LOL. Yeah, that's why I can do it, girl. That's why I can do it. Anyhow, let's see if she gave me an actual picture. Oh, you know what? I actually have some people showing the mug off. And there we go. Mira, Roberto está con las tazas que tenemos ahí. And there is our good old Breeze MCP, my girl. There we go. All right. Okay, folks. Let's continue. And Norman, you know, my eyes are kind of... I don't want to hear it, Breach. Don't tell me about my glasses now. I have it here, but I can see without it. Screen's bigger, but I have my glasses, Breach. Okay. All right, let me get back to the show. I think we've done enough asking, but I just want to ask you guys to please support the program. We need to inform people of these realities. You see, people have been led to believe that they're not as powerful as they are. And I want folks to understand their power. I really want folks to understand their power. One last thing before I go. One for the screen, Egberto. Well, if Rudnin says one for the screen, you know Brother Rudnin probably has a good thing. Here it is. One for the screen from Brother Rudnin, people. There we go. Para ver qué dice. It says, put it on the screen. It says, the prison industrial complex and the military industrial are here with us and our multi-billion-dollar enterprises. We can make more money off the kid in Compton if he's a criminal instead of a scholar. It's a business. Sad, isn't it? But you know what? Brother Rudnin is absolutely on point. All right, let me get back to the all these messages that you guys put out here, because you guys are just the best. All right, let me just tell you, you guys are just lo mejor, mi gente. Okay, let's see what we got here. Carl Cox says, Egberto, you missed a great comment chat from Carl Cox. One of the great chats comments of all time. Go back and look for it between Tank Murdoch and Eric Hayes. You know, I like the way my peeps command me, right? Like, hey, this is exactly where you can find it. You know what, Mr. Cox? Instead of telling me to go find it again, just put the thing in there again, brother. You know, scrolling is not the easiest thing when you have this many messages going on, brother. Okay? Come on, man. Help me out here. You're my brother. Help me out. Okay, continuing with the messages we have. Eric Hayes, false equivalency is a summer of 2020 riots and killing and letting all off with no responsibility. Oh, the only reason you think the summer riots had a lot of killings is because you were listening to right-wing media. That's the only reason you think that. In fact, the person that was doing a lot of damage during the summer riots were a lot of folks that were, you know, from the right coming in with black hoods on, and we caught a couple of them. So get with the program. Understand, brother. Entiende lo que estamos haciendo. Eric Hayes, who cares who called who? Merrick Garland attacked parents who cared about that. Ah, really, huh? Eric, you're writing a lot, buddy. All right, let me get to Maywood says, good afternoon, everyone. May you're late. Michael Ronan says, what's actually preventing Congress from passing sensible gun control legislation? The gun lobby, bribing Congress. Yes, it all comes back to big money, corrupting politics. Just remember that most sensible gun control legislation consistently have between 70% and 90% support. But it's better than that. If you claim that you love life, if you claim that, understand that those places that have good gun control do well. All right, folks, we were talking about inflation. I want to tell you, Stephanie Ruhle did a piece on what really inflation is all about. And it's a simple piece. But coming from her, a former business person who worked for Murdoch, who worked for the guy from New York who ran for president, don't remember his name. I thought it was a good piece. So let's go ahead and play this piece by Stephanie Ruhle, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
They call it inflation, but somebody's pocket are getting inflated. We're the ones hurting down here, you know, the poor people, the working class.
I mean, I'm minimum wage job, so pretty much most of my paycheck goes to paying for my gas.
Clearly, there's a lot impacting gas prices now in the world, so yeah, we'll just hope they turn around and it doesn't get worse later in the summer.
With gas prices still soaring all over the country, people want someone to blame, and plenty of people, they're blaming the White House, which is struggling to address inflation and this pain at the pump, calling it, quote, the problem from hell. But here's the thing. Let's have a reality check. Because as it turns out, these really high prices are not a problem for everyone. In fact, as former Labor Secretary Robert Reich recently pointed out, major oil and gas companies and their shareholders are celebrating absolutely huge, monstrous first quarter revenues. So let's take a look. Chevron, you know that little company, had its best quarter in nearly a decade, the first quarter of this year. Shell, guess what they just had? Their best quarter ever. So you and I are paying up, and they are getting paid. Just yesterday, ExxonMobil, their stock had its first record close since 2014. And remember, the stock market's not doing so hot lately. So perhaps these companies can take all this big money they're making and do a whole lot more drilling here in the U.S. so we can tell these complicated oil and gas producers on the other side of the world to kick it to the curb once and for all. Just a suggestion. I know we're all mad about the price of gas. We're blaming the White House. We're blaming all these different things. Look who's making all the money. Those big companies.
So whenever you guys sit down there and say, "Oh, thank you, Brandon," you might as well start figuring out. Just look to see out of whose pocket a lot of the green is falling. They are taking your money and then telling you, "Go blame this other guy," and you fall for it. And that's why things never change. The reason things never change, they never change because you refuse to be educated on your own, as opposed to what they want you to believe. It is not the president that raises your prices. They are these private corporations and doing it. Now, Biden can solve the problem. We can solve the problem. We can nationalize the oil industry. We can just talk about nationalizing the oil industry and watch how quickly prices begin to fall. Watch how quickly, because like I've said 1,000 times, there ain't no shortage of oil, period. That's not a question. There is no shortage of processing either, because remember, everybody who wants gas can get it right now. Anybody who wants gasoline can get it. You don't see gas shortages like you saw the milk shortage when there was really a shortage because the factory was closed. Because people are buying the same amount of gas. It's just now that it reached $5 that folks are starting to do a little bit more carpooling. So we're starting to get demand destruction, but not enough where that line meets. There's a line of there in capitalism. There are two curves, right? There's a price curve and there's a demand curve. And where those meet is what's called a sweet spot. Right? And the thing about it is, we are probably close to the sweet spot as far as the price of oil is concerned. But, hey, nationalize the industry. I would love that to start coming off the lips of people. Nationalize the industry. All right, Mike Cisak, Egberto, Venezuela nationalized their oil business by stealing foreign equipment and still went broke. That is somebody who does not understand what actually happened in Venezuela. In Venezuela, first of all, you know, it's just like in Cuba. Cuba is a failed state. And by the way, I'm no communist, okay? I don't particularly like a centralized government at all. At all. I abhor a centralized government. I'm talking about having all kinds of levels of government is what I believe in, right? But here's the funny thing. We put our boot on the neck of these different companies. I mean, Arturo Dominguez said it well when he came to the show. Arturo Dominguez said, the problem that America has is they put the noose so tight on Cuba and Venezuela because they fear that it turns into some utopia. In other words, you don't have a bunch of rich people, but most of the population, which is what you really should be going for, are doing just fine. And you see, that's what would have happened with Venezuela. Venezuela is sitting on more oil than any other country on the planet, but it's poor. Because we made sure to keep our boots on their neck. Ask why. It's not about... and again, Mike Cisak, it's what I tell you guys all the time. Stop buying the Kool-Aid. All right, I'm running out of time, so I have another video, and I'm going to get Carl Cox. Okay, I'll get that one to that later on. The medical center in downtown Houston is a gun-free zone. I wouldn't call it a disaster, Tank Murdoch. Ha! Funny. Great one. All right, I want you to listen to this Democratic state senator because he had a lot to say. I hope Republicans are listening to what he had to say, and then we'll go ahead and take it on the other side.
There's a little girl, and her story has been told quite a lot today, who, under fire, put blood on herself so that the shooter would think she was dead. And the common sense and, frankly, presence of mind that little girl had in the middle of a situation none of us can put ourselves into, really, is such a startling contrast to what we just heard of what happened. So my question for you is, in the coming hours, in the coming days, immediately, what needs to get done? What questions need to get answered? What do you need to see so that you can look these families in the face and say, we're doing something here. We're doing something so that the next time one of the smartest people in the room isn't a little girl who's taking blood from her friend and putting it on herself.
There was a failure at every step here in this incident. 19 officers at 12:03. It's just, look, I get it. You're scared. But those little kids were devastatingly scared. They messed up in a very, very big way. But let's not forget that the failure is this Texas legislature led by Greg Abbott. He must get us into a special session. We must get back in that building immediately to address this. Every law enforcement that I've spoken to yesterday has agreed with me that no 18-year-old should have this. Every law enforcement agency in Texas begged the Republicans to not pass open carry last session. They lobbied us to not pass open carry. Every Democrat voted against it, and every Republican voted for it. 9 months ago, I was on the floor of the Texas Senate, and I said, because of this bill, kids are going to die. I never thought it was going to be in my community. And I just saw that video yesterday. I never thought it was going to be in my home, in one of my hometowns, one town in my district. This is a horrible thing. And these people don't do anything about it. And this governor doesn't do anything about it. Not a damn thing. I'm sorry.
Senator, do you have any realistic hope right now, as we sit here, that this time will be different?
Greg Abbott would like us all to think that this is a mental health problem. Every expert will tell you that these people, that there are no indicators of mental health, that they're rational people, that they plan these things out, that they're psychopaths, sure, but you're never going to be able to really truly isolate them and identify them beforehand. And the experts around the country suggest that. There's mental health problems all over the world. But you don't have incidents like this happening all over the world, just here in these United States. I'm in this business because I have to find solutions to problems, and I hope, and I have hope that we can change things. So let's see what Greg Abbott does, because I'm calling on him right now to call a special session to bring us back in. We are 7 states that meet every other year. We're a part-time legislature. We need to get back in there because these people deserve to have their children's lives not have been lost in vain. And we need to cut the crap on all of the other stuff just to placate your NRA donors. Enough is enough. I don't want to take anybody's guns away, but we should have age limits. We should have red flag laws. We should have waiting times. There's common sense things that you can do. And at the end of the day, nobody should have a weapon that is used in Afghanistan.
Nobody should have a gun that is used in Afghanistan. Bridge MCP, Ashley is doing fine. She's home now. She's going up and down the stairs slowly, tentatively, but she's going up and down the stairs, which works out the muscles that need to be worked out. But it's going to be a slow improvement, but she's home. She's home. And, I just love having her home. So thank you so much for your interest and for the interest of so many as well. Bruce Pollard points out, I'm not going to read these messages, just I've been reading them as I listen to that. I'm going to just put some perspective onto what folks have said. Bruce is absolutely right. He actually defined some of the curves that I just talked about, the demand curve versus the profit curve based on what the history and all that sort of stuff. But Mike Cisak got it all wrong. Mike Cisak continues to say that the market dictates the price. Here's the funny thing. How can the market dictate the price when there are several oil cartels? There are several oil cartels. They decide how much oil to pump out of the ground, when, where, what. Therefore, they decide what the price is going to be based on how much they pump, how much they decide to make available. You can't have it both ways. When we talk about the corn market, if there's a great corn year, the price of corn falls because, the totality of corn minus what may be placed in storage, etc. But the oil thing is different. Oil is there permanently. It's not dependent on whether it grew or not. It's there. It's fossil. Stop buying the Kool-Aid. Stop buying the Kool-Aid. The GOP have no shame. There is no need to say, let's see what they do. They are against the working American. Absolutely so. Okay, I need to get out of here pretty soon. Oh, Bridge, I'm glad you read that article on the Powell memo. Please go ahead and promote that article with the Powell memo. I have it at Medium. And let me tell you why I put it at Medium. And actually, I have it tagged at Medium. I call it is called there are 2 of them that I have. The Republican assault on America began with this guy. And that is where I defined here it is, guys. This is what Bridge is talking about. Check out that article and please share that article. Share it. Because it is important for people to understand what's going on. I am no super hyper partisan guy. I am a Democrat because it's the only place progressives can reside right now. But what I am is a progressive person that wants to have policies that support all Americans. I don't care what type of American you are. That's what I support. Making sure your kids can go to school. Make sure your kids have complete access to success or complete access to failure, whatever they choose. Right now, we have others making all those choices for us and giving us a semblance of independence, a semblance of freedom. And notice what I said. All we have is the semblance of freedom. But most are still enslaved by an economic system. Period. I wish and keep listening. Lee Grant says ARs are as good way to boost up some feral hog. You know what? It's time for me to get out of here. It's 4 o'clock. Central time, that is. Look, folks, if I haven't read your comment out loud, it's just that I missed it. We've got hundreds of comments coming from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere, Twitch. And I try to be very, very, I try to be very fair in the way I handle them. Later on, I'm going to start taking calls again. I have to clean up this office at 9 months unused. So, and computer systems have to change around and so forth. So, bear with me. We're getting things together. I got to get out of here. I love you all. Please share the messages. Please don't just listen. Please inform me as well. You know, where there are things that you say, Egberto, you need to know. Don't be shy. Let me know either here on air or drop me a line. We can all learn from each other. Remember that. We can all learn from each other. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody. Nobody. Anybody tells you they know everything, there's something wrong there. So let's inform each other and then spread the word. Empower others. Give folks worth. Let them know that they're the ones in control. Stop following the plutocracy. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.